welcome back to another episode of Tekken Talk. Right now is uh, a cover of Infinite Azor's Tekken 7 theme by J Music Ensemble. If you look up Pat Plays Infinite Azor on YouTube, you'll find it's an amazing saxophone cover. Really awesome. Already has 23,000 views. Go support that video and listen to the song because it's great. Yeah, so welcome back. Kind of a long time no see. It's been about a month. Today is a very special episode. Very special episode because today is the Red Bull Kumite preview. Um, I've heard it pronounced multiple ways. I'm gonna call it Kumite from now on. So Red Bull Kumite preview. We're going to go over who are the invited players, what is the format, what it means for each player to win, and a general overview of each player in general overview. Actually, we'll do that before going over what it means for each player to win, and then at the end, I actually have a slight personal update. So if you want to hear that, stick around till the end. Okay, so let's get right into it. So this weekend is a very special event, Red Bull Kumite, which is a international invitational tournament. Tekken 7, Guilty Gear, and Street Fighter 5. The format essentially is 7 invited players and then an LCQ, last chance qualifier, and whoever wins the last chance qualifier will be able to participate in the top 8 event, and then from there the winner will be determined. I believe it is a $10,000 prize pool for Tekken 7. I'm not sure the exact split, but nonetheless, that's a good chunk of change. Never forget, Rangchu got like 14,000 for winning, or was it 7,000 for winning the TWT World Finals? So who is the invited player? Oh, let's get in the format first. So the format is whoever wins the LCQ, which is a standard 2 out of 3, 3 out of 5 losers final, grand final tournament, enters into the 8-person uh, group stage slash top 8. And the way the top 8 is going to work is it will first be a round robin between 2 groups. So the 2 groups will be randomly drawn, Group A and Group B. And then among those 2 groups, so 4 players each, they will all play each other. And then the top 2 from each group advances to the top 4 stage. So essentially, there is not going to be a traditional top 8 bracket, but rather just a top 4 final bracket. And what's really interesting about this is, so again, 2 out of 3 for the group stage, but for the final 4, the semifinals, so the first matches of the top 4, will be best to 4, a best of 7 games, which is I can't understate how exciting that is, because this guarantees that the best player is going to win. It's not 2 out of 3, right? Traditional semifinals in Tekken tournaments are 2 out of 3. This is 4 out of 7. And if you thought 3 out of 5 determined the best player, 4 out of 7 definitely determines the best player in a long set. Because I think a 4-4 qualifies as a long set at this point, especially compared to a 2 out of 3, right? So the dynamics really shift from the group stages to the semifinals. I can't stress enough how different a 4 out of 7 is compared to a 2 out of 3. It's like night and day difference. And then the final is a 5 out of 9, a first to 5, which, again, so there's no losers bracket, there's no winners bracket. It's just whoever advances from the semifinal goes on to the final to a first to 5, which, again, is basically a long set. Relatively speaking, compared to a 2 out of 3, that is a long set. No, it is not a 2-hour death match, but again, compared to a 2 out of 3, where essentially 1 or 2 decisions can almost decide the entire match, it's a long set. And so let's get into the invited players. So again, there are 7 invited players, and I think the region spread is pretty good, right? One of the reasons why this tournament is so exciting is it's our first international tournament offline since the We Play Invitational. And the We Play Invitational was great and it was an amazing event, but there was no last chance qualifier component. In other words, it was only invited players, which led to super duper high level hype matches, but we still didn't quite get that international, like, anyone's game kind of feeling. I mean, to be honest, the We Play event kind of felt like, okay, we have Arslan Ash, and he's gonna win, and we all know he's gonna win. JDCR is gonna beat everyone, but he's not gonna beat Arslan Ash. Weiss Honey's gonna beat everyone, but he's not gonna beat Arslan Ash. And that's exactly what happened, essentially. Arslan lost one game in the entire tournament, and it was to the Fang Capier from Spain, the Akuma Fang player. And it was such a dominant performance that there was a bit of non-interest to for me at least, just because again with the LCQ format we have enough international players and we have enough diversity, and a big enough pool of players that it is harder to tell who's gonna come out on top. So the LCQ is really exciting. The top 8 players, let's get into it. So naturally we have Anakin. It's a tournament in America held in Las Vegas this weekend. No, I just want to say stream time. I believe it's Saturday, 3 p.m. Eastern, and I believe it's the whole thing. So, whole thing one day. So, Anakin, UYU ex Red Bull, Anakin from America. Fate Esports ex Red Bull, Arslan Ash from Pakistan. Talon Esports, Book from Thailand. Equinox Gaming ex Red Bull Esports, Cuddle Core from America. Donuts USG, Gen from Japan. Rocks Dragons, Ni from South Korea. Crazy Esport, Super Akuma from France. And as far as the LCQ participants go, I'm unsure. I'm pretty positive Shadow 20Z, Joey Fury, and JDCR will be attending. Because I believe this is because they were in the Tekken House series, so I'm almost sure they will be attending. So those are probably the biggest players of note for the LCQ. I do not know if any Pakistani, Korean, or Japanese players will be attending the LCQ. I know Fergus, I think, is also attending. So Fergus is another big name. I wouldn't be surprised, I don't know, but if Chanel is attending, because me and Chanel, of course, are teammates and they travel to most tournaments together. So Chanel may also be entering as well. So let's just kind of go over each player and talk about, their style, essentially, who they play, and just, this will be pretty brief, but so Anakin, of course, is a Jack player, best in America, very assertive play style, and very much based on his feel and momentum, right? When Anakin has momentum, he's easily the third or fourth best player in the world. That's pretty clear from his third place at Evo. I think fourth place at TWT Finals, the last one we had before coronavirus. I mean, when he gets momentum, his down back one with Jack is the most unblockable move, in the game. It's just down back one, down, low, low. Your health is gone. So he's obviously a really exciting player to look out for. Also, note I'm not positive on the pronouns going forward, so I'm actually just gonna say they going forward. Excuse me, Anakin, if I use the wrong pronouns. Next player we have Arslan Ash. Arslan Ash probably needs no introduction. Uh, Widely considered the best player in the world. I think most people consider Arslan the best player in the world. Zafina, Kazumi, Eliza, Kunimitsu are kind of the main characters. Geese that you can expect. Definitely, probably expect the Zafina. especially if it's against an opponent he really considers, or they really consider, uh, strong or a threat. Definitely expect Zafina, maybe Lydia also. But Zafina is definitely the character they have been using the most. Jin, I mean Book, excuse me. That's how synonymous they are in my head. But Book, of course, Evo Japan champion, the Leroy tournament. But it's not just that. Arguably the best Jin in the world. I would say the best Jin in the world, even though a lot of people like to say Cherry Berry Mango. Has a Leroy, has a Lydia. Expect to see the Leroy, I would say, in tournament, especially when Book's going to come up against like a Fakumram, which we'll get to. Leroy seems to be the character he uses a lot in tournament based off of ICFC. Again, Jin is, of course, don't be surprised if Book picks Jin. Extremely, extremely, how do I say this? Calm play style. A very calm play style. When Book is in control of the match, it really looks very effortless and very, I don't know about slow pace, but the game slows down and Book will just magically win with like some launchers with punishes. Again, super talented player. Cuddlecore, Elisa Xiaoyu, uh, won an ICFC this season. Easily most improved American player, along with maybe Shadow over the past year. Actually, no, I'll straight up give it to Cuddlecore as the most improved player of the last 2 years, right? Or last 3 years, because if we remember back to kind of the beginning, or not near beginning, not beginning, but like towards the start of Tekken 7, Cuddlecore was kind of like we knew Cuddle was like a high level player, but we weren't saying her name in the same conversation as like Anakin, Joey Fury, Jimmy J, uh, Lil Majin at the time. But now that's totally changed, right? Now when you're talking about the best players in America, like it Cuddlecore has to be in the conversation. And easily the most improved, maybe most exciting player in America at the moment. Then we have Gen, and Gen is a Fakumram monster at the moment. Will occasionally pick Law, occasionally pick Lydia, but really Gen's Fakumram has been just dominating the Japan Korea tournament scene. His Fakumram has defeated Ni the past 2 times they played. I believe Ni picked Devil Jin both times, and both times fell. I believe even one was offline, fell to Gen's Fakumram. Gen's Fakumram, arguably the best character player combo in the world right now, outside of Arslan's Zafina. So look out for Gen. Very exciting. Very young. I think the youngest player at the event, um, or in the top 8 at least, besides the LCQ. Then we have Ni. I think everyone knows Ni, so we'll be brief, but plays pretty much everyone. You know who you do know you will see. You'll almost guaranteed see Steve, Devilgen, Brian, Marduk. Those are the 4 characters that I think Ni has been rolling with as his "I'm gonna kill you and win," but you never know. Like he picked Katarina in the last tournament Ni entered, I believe. So they picked Katarina, and it was looking good. So you just never know. Mokujin, real life Mokujin, as it were. Lastly, we have Super Akuma, unquestionably the best player in Europe, wins every European online tournament or gets top 3. Clearly the most experienced tournament vet Akuma player in the world. Weiss Honey did beat him, I believe, but you can easily argue still that Super Akuma is the number 1 Akuma in the world, is the number 1 cool, calm, composed Akuma. I actually don't think that's arguable, right? Weiss Honey is a killer and will destroy you. But a Weiss Honey is so good that he can drop combos, he can mess up and still win the match. When we're talking about clutch factor and consistently hitting the hardest Akuma combos and consistently choosing the right times to jump in, I mean, Super Akuma is unmatched in my opinion, and arguably one of the favorites for the top eight. Okay, so now let's get into who are the favorites, and essentially what the betting odds. Not really the betting odds, but so we have like I'm gonna say there's three categories. So we have the favorite, the runner-up favorite, and we have the favorite, the runner-up favorite, and the dark horse candidate, right? The dark horse contestant. So the favorite is Arslan Ash. Again, I don't think that's controversial. I know a lot of people love Knee, and a lot of people love Gen going into this tournament. And Knee, let's say this. Arslan Ash is the clear favorite, but it's not by a lot over Knee solely because of the format. Knee just has to make it to the semifinals. If Knee makes it to the semifinals where it's a 4 out of 7, 5 out of 9 in the grand finals, I think they're even. I don't think you can call it, right? We all know Arslan traditionally has Knee's number, even though Knee beat him in the TWT LCQ. Slight asterisk there. Though Knee beat Arslan, Knee only had to win one game to advance. So after winning that one game over Arslan, Arslan kind of gave up. Um, but I think in a long set, we all know Knee is the best at adaptation over a very, very long set. If it was a first to 10, I think if gets to the grand finals, he is the favorite. But for now, we'll call them even. So Knee is the runner up just because you have to get out of the group stage. And in a 2 out of 3, Arslan is unquestionably, from what we know of online tournaments recently and offline, Arslan is unquestionably the best 2 out of 3 player in the world. So it all comes down to whether or not Knee can get to the long sets as to how those two might stack up. The dark horse, I kind of mentioned it earlier. I think I think Gen, right? I think Gen is probably the dark horse in that he's probably not going to be anyone's favorite, but Gen is likely the third best player there. Just knowing again from what we know offline results, beating Knee like twice in a row. I mean, most top players have beaten Knee. Um, like top players, so like top 10 players have beaten me. It's just that twice in a row is what kind of makes it a big deal. And again, Falcon Rom, he's choosing one of the most oppressive characters in the game and playing them, like no other person. It's really impressive watching against Falcon Rom. And do not be surprised if Gen wins. Again, the Gen is my dark horse. In other words, it's pretty much the third favorite to win, but we'll just call that a dark horse. So again, going into this tournament, look out. What does it mean? So let's go over kind of what it means for each player if they win, and what it would mean for like the general Tekken community slash the general ramifications it might have within the FGC. So if Arslan wins, uh, I think Arslan goes into the conversation with Sonic Fox and I don't know about Daigo, but definitely Sonic Fox as unquestionably the best in their respect. Sonic Fox is unquestionably the best at NRS and Skullgirls, and he's in his own category of fighting game gods at the moment. I think Arslan goes into that conversation if he wins Kumite, and especially if Arslan goes on to win CEO, then I think when we talk about who has the widest skill gap between number one and number two in their respective game, Sonic Fox has undisputably had the widest kind of gap, specifically in NRS for a while, but I think Arslan propels himself right into that conversation of, uh, you know, the gap between one and two is just really big, especially if Arslan beats me in grand finals in a first to five setting. Um, if Anakin wins. If Anakin wins, I think that's a pretty good, not comeback story per se, but it will be the cherry on top of his Red Bull journey, right? We all remember CEO 2019 versus me, the grand finals, Evo third place. He has kind of been playing not second fiddle because again, Anakin is the best in North America, but just outside that top three, top four, like top four-ish, top five-ish area of Tekken players in the world, immediately it would just be insane, and I think he would become widely recognized as the third best player in the world, maybe even second according to people, depending on how he wins, right? And I think it would just be great for the brand of Red Bull. You know, Red he is Red Bull's kind of like main spokesperson in America, it seems like, as far as being a Red Bull athlete. And I think a Red Bull athlete winning means that Red Bull puts more money into Tekken 7 or the Tekken community in general, which I think is, a great thing. Who do we got next? Who do we got next? Book. I think if Book, I don't know. If Book wins, what do we make of it? I think a win from Book might say that one online performance is it just would enhance how important online play is, right? Because Book, I believe, has mainly been competing against top players in online formats recently. And so to go coronavirus, to go through these 2 years and then win an offline tournament like this, it would just say online's trash. But guess what? If you're great in online, you're going to be great offline. And especially if he wins with Jin, who online, people are like, oh, Mishimas, they're so difficult. And they are, but if that translates to offline, I mean, one, Book goes into the top 10 players, I think, easily. And two, take online seriously. It just would enforce that, like, if you're great online, you can be great offline. Even though there's already a lot of evidence for that, despite how rage-inducing online Tekken may be. If Cuddlecore wins, man, I kind of want Cuddlecore to win. If Cuddlecore wins, it would just be great for the Tekken community as a whole. Like, I think she's probably been one of the hardest working Tekken players that I know of in terms of, again, most improved in the past 3 years. So to win a huge event like this, I don't think she's ever won a huge offline event that really does have the top international players. So doing that would just be an incredible achievement for her and for the fighting game community as a whole. Again, the females in the FGC are still rather marginalized. You still don't see they're still very underrepresented at the top. I think that's true in esports in general. So that would be sweet. And also, unquestionably, the best Elisa player in the world if she wins. Unquestionably. Yes, like Chanel is great, but we all know Chanel wouldn't win this bracket. There's no way. Chanel would at most come second place because Chanel is known to not be able to close the deal in such high level tournaments. So we know Chanel wouldn't win this. So if Cuddlecore pulls it off with Elisa, unquestionably the best Elise player in the world. Which again, being the best at a certain character in the world is like no small achievement. Yes, there is a Pakistani Elisa who can trade games with Arslan. I forgot their name, so excuse me. But again, we need that international results to crown someone the best with a certain character. Next, Gen. I mean, Gen can almost claim the best player in the world title, especially if Gen defeats Arslan Ash. Uh, I mean, we'll see the fashion. If it's really close, he might not be able to really grasp it from Arslan. But if he's beating me and he beats Arslan, then you're the best player in the world. If you win this tournament, right? If you beat the top two, generally undisputed top two, then you are the best player in the world. And I think Japan has a claim at being the best region. in the world, right? Right now, it's pretty. I think most people agree that Pakistan is the strongest region, but if Chikarin's winning the TWT finals and Gen is the best player in the world, then Japan might just be the strongest region. If Ni wins, I think there will be one. He cements goat status, right? So most people will say he's the Tekken goat. I think a lot of people do already. Two, I think there will be another paradigm shift, right? Nia's already shifted the paradigm of approaching Tekken of, at a high level of you need multiple characters. Learning all the cast makes you a better player. I think it'll just enhance that and add fuel to the fire, and we're going to see more and more top players uh, using multiple characters and being less of a character specialist. And of course, whenever Ni wins, the YouTube video of the finals gets a trillion views, right? I know we might not say it, but we all want, especially since there's no losers bracket, a grand finals in the Arslan Ash. I mean, if you're a neutral fan, I think that's what you want. If we want to see the best possible Tekken and the best possible storyline, again, I may be rooting for Cuddlecore on like a pretty personal level, but from a high level greedy, we want to see it happen. I think we all want the Ni Arslan first of five grand finals. In fact, rig it so that they are in separate groups. I do not want them in the same group. Yes, I understand them playing each other more and more is good, but the grand finals with them, the first encounter, first to five, I think that would just be the hypest match ever. Again, I think that would be an even set, right? Because it's a longer set, so Ni is, of course, stronger in a longer sets than in 2 out of 3. Not than Arslan, but, for himself. Lastly, if Super Akuma wins, I'm sorry, if Super Akuma wins, I don't want to hear any conversation about who the best in Europe is. I know there's still people who. I think the 99% of people in Europe say it's Super Akuma, but I know there is 1% who scream for other people. But no, if Super Akuma wins most European tournament that he enters and then wins this offline event, I don't care that the other players weren't invited. Super Akuma's number one by a lot. I get Daniel Mato is amazing. I get Kapir is amazing. I get Chicken Maru is amazing. But they are not Super Akuma. I already think they're not Super Akuma, but especially if he wins this event, I don't. He's he's the best in all of Europe. The best Akuma for me. Uh, Hawaii's Honey is really hard because he's just so freaking good. Tied for the best Akuma. If he beats Arslan, we'll give it to him. But I think a Super Akuma winning will just enhance his own legacy more than almost anyone else. Because again, it just puts him in such an undisputed category um, within his region, and that's just like a great place to be. And so that pretty much wraps up the Red Bull Kumite preview. Again, check the stream times. I think it's around 2 or 3 Eastern time. And I believe it goes till 10 p.m. Eastern, or it might go to 10 p.m. Pacific. It's a pretty long stream, but we're getting a group stage. I don't think we're getting the LCQ, to be honest. From what I can tell by the stream schedule, we might be getting the grand finals or something of the LCQ. But hopefully those matches are being recorded somewhere and we'll have access to them after the fact. I will say one last thing. If JDCR wins the LCQ, I think he becomes the dark horse over again. In other words, the third place favorite. But that's a pretty big if, since the LCQ will of course be pretty stacked, although JDCR is easily the favorite in the LCQ. Again, assuming I don't think any Pakistanis are going, but assuming no Pakistanis are going, we know JDCR is the second or third best in Korea, so naturally becomes the favorite. I do not believe Jimmy J Tran is going either. But if Jimmy shows up, that will of course be one of the hypest things ever. But So that's pretty much the preview. Make sure to tune in, support the Tekken stream. I believe it will be streamed on the main Tekken channel. If not, it will probably be streamed on the Red Bull Esports channel. So look those up. Keep an eye out for those. Lastly, a quick personal update. Yeah, I've been in physical therapy for about a month now. I was putting it up for a long time, but I was having serious hand pain, like chronic hand pain, that I injured myself back in February. Um, I made it to one offline Boston tournament. The next day, my hands were dead, really hurt. I am thanks to physical therapy, I can now play some online Tekken without my hands hurting, assuming I take some breaks. But that has kind of limited my excitement about the game, partially because playing it is a lot of what I love about it. Although, wow, coming back after many months, yes, the netcode has deteriorated. Like, what the hell? I do not. Every game, there is at least 3 or 4 frame drops, like big ones. Uh, I think that just means Tekken 8. I think that's all that means because it can't be so bad and then not address it unless they're working on Tekken 8. So be ready for that. Anyway, thank you for listening. My Twitter is in the description. Feel free to tweet at me any questions or comments or feedback about the podcast. Let me know if you want who you're supporting at the tournament. Or if your favorite is not Arslan Ash to win it, who is your favorite? Please tweet at me or don't tweet at me. Either way, thank you so much for listening. Have a great day.